Although you can read any deck of cards intuitively, when you're focusing on love readings, it is helpful to get a deck with people or symbols. And colours can also reveal a lot about how you're feeling or how the person you're reading for is feeling. So try to choose a deck which features people and avoid monochrome. You want to get a deck with plenty of colours. Now you can also use oracle decks to give love readings. I just choose to teach this course with tarot because most tarot decks feature people, symbols, colours and numbers, so you have lots of material to work with. In addition, many tarot decks feature people with different expressions, who wear different clothes, they have a different stance, and they've got a different energy, so you can get a lot more intuitive information when you've got lots of things to prompt your intuition in the cards. Cards of a single colour, or cards that only feature animals, for example, are going to be less easy to relate to love readings, because with love readings, they're all about people and emotions. Now, before I begin showing you some recommended tarot decks, I just want to mention that if you enjoy reading tarot cards with people on them, and maybe you struggle reading cards with just symbols, you can always remove all the cards from that deck that feature people and just use that part of the deck. There's no rule to say you have to use the whole deck. That goes with everything. If you like reading cards with symbols and you have a few cards in your deck that don't feature symbols, or perhaps there are a few cards in your deck that you just don't like reading, take them out. If it makes your readings more pleasurable, then I would highly recommend doing that. And that's the beauty of intuitive reading. You do it your way. You can just as easily do a reading with half a deck of cards as with a full deck. There's no point in struggling to read a spread if you have a handful of cards in your deck that you just don't enjoy reading. So take them out and just use the cards that really speak to your intuition. This is the very first tarot deck I used, and it's called the Gilded Tarot. It's actually the one I learned with initially, and I think it's a great deck for intuitive reading. It's got so much colour, so many symbols, and a really good energy. So to give you an example of some of the cards and how easy they are to read with, I'll show you a few from the deck. Okay, so this one is the Nine of Wands. So this shows a person on the card looking exhausted. He's clutching hold of a wand, and behind him there are other wands that he's left behind that he's not looking at. So this whole scene gives me the feeling that he's holding on to something tightly, which is the wand, but he's turned his back on a lot. So this could represent a person having walked away from a relationship, but feeling like they've not taken very much with them and that they've left a lot behind. So that could mean someone leaving their partner, but leaving all of their belongings behind, or losing money and just taking a bit with them. The gold on the wands actually makes me think of money and wealth as well. So that would fit with that scene, that this person's had to turn their back on most of their material possessions or money whilst they've walked away from the relationship. And the expression on the man's face as well is one of defeat. He looks worn out, he's on his knees, so he's got very little energy left. But I'm also really drawn to this lovely long grass here, that it looks quite lush and well cared for. So that gives me the feeling that there's some hope that all is not lost. There's also, this looks like ivy next to him. Now, ivy is a climbing plant. So that could mean that he'll climb his way back up from this situation. And ivy also grows anywhere. So it's really hardy and it's resilient. So that gives me that sort of message of hope to go with this card, that he is resilient and he can climb back up. And the fact that the ivy is right next to him as well, but he's not seeing it, represents the fact that he can climb up, and that opportunity to climb back up is right next to him, but he's not seeing it because he's completely enveloped in all of his grief at the moment. So that's instantly what jumps out at me from that card, and I'm just letting my intuition talk to me, noticing what jumps out and allowing my intuition to flow. And in addition to the things I've read on this card, you also have the colours you can read. You've got the sky and the clouds that might give you a bit of a picture. You could look at what he's wearing and you could get even more information that way. So that's one of the cards from the deck. This is another one here. So this card from the Gilded Tarot has very different colours and symbols to the last one. So we can see that there's a lady on here wearing a blindfold, which means she can't see what's happening around her. So that might suggest that she's either choosing not to see a situation for what it really is, or perhaps something is being hidden from her. Now, just to note that it doesn't matter about the gender of the person on the card. If you see a woman on the card, but you are a man, or you're giving a reading to a man, then that will represent them. So gender is irrelevant when it comes to cards. It's more about seeing what the person is doing, how do they look, what's their energy, what's their stance, what's their body language, that kind of thing. These swords that are in the picture, they're all around her as well, like trapping her. And with that blindfold in place as well, that looks to me like she's in a situation she can't get out of, or she feels like she can't get out of it. The colour blue that's on the card, it's here and it's all in the background as well. For me, that represents the throat chakra. So that relates to being able to speak up about how you feel and be truthful and authentic about how you feel. So this makes me feel that the person in the card isn't feeling able to speak up about the fact that they feel trapped and they can't see a way out. So that's that card as well. This one here. So this card, again, there's lots of colour on the card, there's lots of symbols. This card shows lots of different gold cups with various different things inside them. And each one looks quite exciting. So this card has a really different energy. It feels like there are some exciting options being presented. And each cup looks like it's got something entirely different in it, suggesting that the options are quite varied. So this, in a love reading, could suggest somebody having lots of options when it comes to finding a partner. Perhaps they've got more than one choice available to them. And there are all sorts of colours on the card again. That suggests to me a multitude of different and varying options for the person that's having the reading, or for you, obviously, if you're reading for yourself. And this card, so we've got here somebody on a boat. Now she is looking to the right, which suggests she's looking towards the future. She's got her hood up, so that makes me feel like she's trying to kind of hide herself or protect herself a little bit. And she's on a boat filled with golden swords. So that makes me feel like she is taking all of her wealth and her material possessions with her on a journey to somewhere new. And she looks very focused. She's looking straight ahead. So she's focusing on where she's going. So she's clearly giving this journey her all. Now, this could represent someone leaving a long-term relationship, but taking their stuff with them, as opposed to the man on the card we saw earlier who had left most of his stuff behind. The full moon behind the lady, that's jumping out at me as well. That would suggest completion, because if you work with the moon and you work with the phases of the moon, you'll know that the full moon represents completion and then the new moon represents new beginnings. So that completion could be that she's completed the cycle, she's ended the relationship, it's come to a close. The sky around the moon as well, if you can see, it's really clear because we can see the stars, and there's no obstacles in the water sort of preventing her journey. So that suggests to me that her path forward is actually clear and there's nothing that's stopping her or that's in her way. And also the number 6 is jumping out at me with this card, and 6 represents balance and harmony. So she's moving on with her life, she's starting a new journey, she's looking to the future, and she's feeling balanced. So this card has a very different energy to the man we saw earlier who looks battle weary and exhausted and tired. This person looks very focused on where she's going, and she's taken all of her wealth with her. So that's just a few of the cards in the deck, just so you can have an idea of how you would use them in a reading. Oh, wrong way around, sorry. How you would use them in a reading and all the different things you can get from a deck like this, which is just full of symbols and people and colours. So that's the Gilded Tarot. This is the Universal Weight Tarot deck. I don't have the box anymore, unfortunately, as I tend to keep this deck in a pouch. So I've included an image of it on the screen for you. This one is based on the original Rider-Waite Tarot deck, which was first published in the early 1900s. Now, if you're familiar with the original Rider-Waite deck, you'll know that the colours are a bit plain and you can't see that much detail on the faces of the people. So although it's always been the most popular tarot deck, there are better upgraded, if you like, versions of it where the colours have been made a bit more vibrant, the lines have been sharpened, and you can see more detail on the faces of the people so you can read their expressions. And this is the best version I've found, the Universal Weight deck. So I love how colourful it is. So let's have a look at some of the cards within this deck so we can see how useful they'll be in a love reading. So let's start with this one. So this card has a lot of detail. The man on the card is looking rather proud. He has a castle in the background. He's holding a gold coin and he looks to be wearing some kind of robes, and he has a crown on his head. So I know obviously he's the King of Pentacles, but avoiding the words on the card, this looks like the sort of person who's done rather well for himself and he's made a lot of money. So So this looks like the kind of person who would be the provider in a relationship, somebody who's stable, confident. He looks like the kind of person who everything he touches turns to gold. Even the sky behind him is a shade of gold. But he looks a bit like he's admiring his wealth. If you can see with his facial expression, he's focusing on the coin in his hand. So he could be the sort of person who can be quite selfish in a relationship or overly focused on wealth. So perhaps less focused on his partner. So that's what I'm getting from that card just by reading the card. So if this came up in a love reading about somebody's partner or the potential for a new relationship, then that's the sort of energy this person would be bringing to the relationship. Now this card has a really lovely feel to it. So two people gazing into each other's eyes. The guy has his hand on her hand as well, and they've both got a golden cup. So they look like they're toasting something or celebrating something. The sky behind them is really clear. There's no clouds or anything. And there's a lovely landscape in the background as well with a little house. So that could be their house maybe. The path they're standing on is clear. There's no obstacles. And we've got a lion up here as well with wings. So for me, the lion represents power and strength, and the wings could represent a spiritual element. So that could be, because the wings are right over these two people, the way I would read this intuitively is that there is a spiritual connection between these two people. So it could be like a soulmate relationship. And the fact that the wings are red as well could represent passion, because that for me is one of the things that I get from the colour red is a sense of passion. And I'm also drawn to the Roman numeral up here at the top, which is for the number 2. Now 2 represents partnerships. So this card is full of positive symbols about a relationship and a partnership. So again, there's lots of detail and colours on the cards, and you get a very different sense of the energy on this card, particularly compared to this one. So this one's got a rather sad and solemn feel to it. The person is looking down, they're wearing black, their cups have all fallen over, and we can see one of them has actually spilled a little bit here as well. And the water here, and there's water here in this card too. For me, water often represents emotions. So it could be tears, looking at the energy of the card. So a lot of things can be read in this card with lots of symbols suggesting loss, walking away from a relationship, being hurt, being betrayed, being rejected. It's that kind of energy. It's a grief energy, this card. Okay, so this card, this one is quite a positive feeling card as well. And again, there's water in this one, so you could read the water here to represent emotions and tears. But we have this lovely knight in shining armor coming in, riding a white horse. So perhaps he'll come in and mop up the tears. So he is looking, as you'll see, he's looking to the right, which represents the future, and he's holding a golden cup in his hand, looking like he wants to offer it to somebody. So this could mean somebody's going to come into your life and make you some sort of offer, like maybe somebody will come in and offer you a date. The white of the horse, for me, white represents purity. So that would make me feel that this is somebody who's pure of heart. So they're not manipulative or out to hurt you. They're pure of heart. There are also blue wings up here on his helmet. And the wings could suggest that he's somebody quite spiritual. So he does actually sound really lovely. And just another card from this deck, just to give you another example. So this card shows lots of people with sticks, basically looking like they're bashing the sticks against each other. They're all facing in different directions, and the whole card looks quite sort of chaotic and a bit fighty, like there's some sort of conflict going on and things are getting a bit heated, lots of different opinions. So pulling this card in a love reading might represent lots of people giving you their different opinions on your relationship, and they're butting in a little bit, and that could cause a bit of tension and conflict. They're all coming from different directions as well, so that could mean they've all got a different perspective on your relationship. And even the ground they're stood on, if you notice, even that's uneven, so that reiterates the fact that they're all coming from a different angle. And I'm also drawn to the Roman numeral again on this card. Now that's the number 5. So 5 for me, I see number 5s as representing change and conflict. So that also ties in nicely with the overall feel of the card. However, I also noticed there's a lovely blue sky on this card. So again, that gives me a feeling of hope. So that might suggest there'll be a more positive outcome, or that could be guidance to stay nice and calm despite what's happening around you. So that's the Universal Weights deck. And another one I would recommend for love readings is this one here. This is the Angel Wisdom Tarot. This is a beautiful tarot deck. It's got really big cards. So just to let you know, this can make it a little bit more tricky to shuffle because they're so big. But with the cards being bigger, they can hold more detail. The only, I would say, slight downside to this deck is that there's quite a lot of writing on the bottoms of the cards. Now, I find words on tarot cards really off-putting when I'm trying to read intuitively, because if I read words and sentences, I'm using the left side of my brain to read and comprehend what I'm reading. And then that brings in that logical, rational left side of my brain, which is not helpful when I'm trying to use my intuition. And we connect to the right side of our brain when we use our intuition. So I normally try and avoid decks with too much writing on, but I've got quite good at just ignoring the words and just looking at the picture and the symbols on the card. So that's what I would recommend if you do decide to get this deck or another deck that you just really love, but it's got words on it. Just ignore the words and focus on the picture. So this deck is by Radley Valentine. That's the backs of the cards, and that's the size as well. So if I just show you the comparison to the Gilded Tarot, it's they're not much longer, but they're a lot wider. So this deck it's by Radley Valentine, and the images are really beautiful. And because it's the Angel Wisdom deck, lots of the cards are going to feature angel wings, although not all of them do. So this is a really good deck for bringing in that angelic wisdom into your readings. It's also bursting with colour and lots of symbols. So I'll show you a few of the cards and some examples of how you might read with them. So let's start with this one. So the Wise Counselor. Now, if this card showed up in a reading and you were asking a question about the sort of person your new partner was, for example, I would read this card as suggesting your new partner is very spiritual because of the person wearing the angel wings. And also they're a very present person because this person is looking straight ahead at you. So he doesn't have his head down and he's not looking back to the past or forwards towards the future. He's looking straight at you. So he's very present. I also feel like he's very grounded because he's not wearing shoes. So his bare feet are on the ground, which would help him to get grounded. And also the pillars either side of him look really strong and sturdy, and he's stood in between them. So that gives him that kind of grounded, steady, strong energy. He's wearing blue and also green. And now blue for me represents truth and authenticity and speaking your truth. So that would make me feel he's a very truthful person. And green connects to nature. So there's that grounded energy again, and also healing. So this is a person that's going to bring that kind of energy into your relationship. Steadiness, a grounded energy, and healing. And there's two keys here on the card as well. So the keys could represent maybe him having a key to your heart. The fact that there's two could suggest you both holding a key to each other's hearts. So that looks like potentially a really good person to be in a relationship with, if that's the sort of person you're looking for and that's the kind of energy you want in the relationship. And again, ignore the gender. This could be a woman. If you're in a relationship with a woman, it's just the characteristics we're focusing on. Or if you were asking a question in your reading, say you were asking for guidance on how to move on from a painful relationship, and this card showed up, so it's not representing a person, then I would read it that you're being guided by your angels, and there is an angel around you now with a very grounded and steady, stable energy, and they're providing healing for you because of that green. And they're providing that steadiness that you need right now to help you move on. So obviously the card's meaning will depend on the question you've asked, and we'll go through all of this when I go through all the demonstrations of the different spreads. But there's lots of lovely high vibrational information you can get from this card. So this card is instantly making me feel seasick. The person on this card is balancing on a tightrope, and they're trying to keep juggling everything and keep everything up in the air. They've got a rather worried look on their face, and the sea behind them looks really choppy. So the feeling I get from looking at this card is one of overwhelm. And I'm actually really drawn to this on their top here. They've got the infinity sign, and the infinity sign is perfectly balanced. If you see, each side is exactly the same size. So there's a clear need for more balance for this person. They're taking on too much and they're juggling too many things. The brown is also calling to me here because you've got lots of brown and green on this card. Brown and green are very earthy colours. They connect to nature, and also green connects to healing. The message could be for the person that they need to get more grounded and get off that tightrope. Put both feet flat on the ground and balance your energy. That would be the message I would get from that card. The light blue colour of their top jumps out at me a little bit as well. Now that, again, light blue represents speaking your truth, being authentic, because I connect light blue to the throat chakra. So again, I would advise they need to speak up and tell people they're struggling and they're not balanced. And again, the number 2 on the card at the top here represents balance and partnership. So there could be a need to reach out to someone else and help them to manage some of the things going on in their life that they're trying to keep juggling. Now, if this card comes up in the position where it's advice being given to somebody who's in a relationship, I would suggest their relationship is out of balance and one partner is doing everything and the other isn't. So this could provide some really useful guidance for somebody who maybe doesn't know why they're feeling so unhappy in their relationship. And you pull this card for them and you can see straight away it's because there's a lack of balance. And this card has a really lovely nurturing energy to it. So the lady here on the card looks very relaxed with the stance she's got. She's got her head tilted to one side, but she's looking straight ahead. So she's not looking to the past. She's not looking to the future. She's looking straight ahead. So that gives me the feeling that she's very present and she's very much in the moment. And she's cuddling. This is so cute. It's a little baby unicorn. She's cuddling in her arms, which gives me the feeling that this person is very caring, very nurturing, like very motherly energy. The wings that she's wearing show that she has a spiritual side. So she might have a very high frequency that's very loving. She could even be one of those people that, get referred to as an earth angel, where somebody is here in human form, but they have like this almost angelic presence. And they're the people that light up a room when they walk in. They're full of love. They're full of compassion. They're very caring. The yellow as well on her dress. Now yellow for me, it's a very happy, very summery colour, and the gold around her as well. She's got some gold around here. The gold represents wealth. So this is somebody who knows how to take care of herself and to take care of those around her. The rabbits here, now rabbits can very often represent fertility. So this could be a person who has children. And then we've got the female symbol on the left here. So this suggests that this is a very feminine person. And again, this might not be a woman because men can have feminine energy as well. If they're more nurturing and creative, that's a more feminine energy. And I can also see a heart shape on this object here. I'm not entirely sure what this object is, but I can just see there's a heart shape at the top that I'm drawn to. So again, that suggests that they're a very loving person. If this card came up to describe a partner or a potential partner, then that's the sort of energy they will bring to your relationship. And again, it depends what you're looking for as to whether that's the energy you want from your partner. And if you pulled this card in a reading where, say, you were asking for guidance on how to find love, so this wasn't representing a person, then I would read this card as suggesting you need to do some self-care, some self-nurturing, and to take some time out to look after yourself and give yourself some love. The rabbits, they could be representing being playful. So that might be the guidance there, that you need to have a bit more fun. So that is the Angel Wisdom Tarot. I did have a look online to see if there were any tarot decks that are specifically focused around love, and I did find some, so I thought I would include them here. So there is the Modern Love Tarot. So again, if you think you'd enjoy a more modern tarot deck with more diversity in the cards, then this one might be worth looking into. There's the Romantic Tarot. Now that looks like it's got a much more vintage feel to it, if you're drawn to vintage cards. And the Enchanted Love Tarot. Now, personally, I only use the card decks that I've showed you in this lecture, and I've never had a tarot deck that specifically focuses around love. And what concerns me is that if the specialist love decks are all lovey-dovey all the way through, and they're all showing people happy and content, I mean, that's great, but that doesn't really provide a realistic view of relationships. Sometimes relationships are happy, sometimes they're more challenging. Sometimes people get lonely, sometimes people need to heal before they can move on. Sometimes there's a clash in a relationship, which you need to get to the bottom of. Sometimes there's deceit and betrayal. Sometimes you need guidance when you're on your own for how to look after yourself before you get into a new relationship. So if you've got a deck where every card is all pink and fluffy and shows people in love, then that's going to be potentially harder to pull intuitive information from if the cards are all quite similar. So I would just add that as a word of caution. If you're looking to get a specialist tarot deck that is focused around love, have a look at the images on some of the cards before you buy it, if you can, because you want some diversity in the images, some diversity in the colours and the symbols. Most people will have a love reading, either coming to you for one, or maybe you do your own, because they have a problem they want to solve. People who are in happy, content relationships don't tend to need to have a love reading. So you really do need to find a deck that has plenty of different images and colours and symbols, so you have the best material to work with.